Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again. So today, we're going to talk about Trump versus Powell, Economic Triage Edition. Trump took to social media to say that Fed Chair Jerome Powell's departure cannot come fast enough. He believes Powell isn't lowering interest rates fast enough. This was probably sparked by the European Central Bank lowering its rates. Powell is leery of cutting interest rates, which is a primary tool the Fed uses to control inflation. He said, quote, "The level of tariff increases announced so far is significantly larger than anticipated, and the same is likely to be true of the economic effects, which will include higher inflation and slower growth." Powell also indicated that unemployment is likely to go up as the economy slows due to the trade war, and said some of the cost of the tariffs will be, quote, paid by the public. So, Powell said the prices are pretty much guaranteed to go up, unemployment is expected to rise, and growth is expected to slow. If you were writing a definition for the word stagflation, it would read a lot like his assessment of the future of the U.S. economy. So, the obvious question raised by this is, why are the EU and the U.S. central banks dealing with it differently? Well, since the U.S. is the country imposing the far-ranging tariffs and the EU is having them imposed on it, it would make sense for the central banks to respond differently. Even the EU's counter tariffs are more narrowly tailored, which lessens the across-the-board price increase likelihood. They also aren't imposed on basically every country in the world. The EU's concern is slowing growth, which means it makes sense to cut interest rates to make borrowing cheaper and speed up how quickly money changes hands. That might boost their economic growth. The U.S. has to counter expected slowing growth, higher unemployment, and inflation. Dropping interest rates would increase inflation. Raising interest rates would likely raise unemployment and contribute to slowing growth. This is why stagflation is so hard to get out of. I'll put an explainer video down below. The Fed will likely prioritize controlling inflation and then try to deal with unemployment and growth. The reason is simple. If they don't control inflation, even the employed won't be able to afford purchases, which slows the economy, which leads to more layoffs, and the cycle continues. Basically, the Fed is having to triage the anticipated economic injuries. The Chicago Fed president said, quote, "A tariff is like a negative supply shock. That's a stagflationary shock, which is to say it makes both sides of the Fed's dual mandate worse at the same time. Prices are going up while jobs are being lost and growth is coming down. And there is not a generic playbook for how the central bank should respond to a stagflationary shock." The tension between the Fed and Trump is likely to grow. If a Trump loyalist is placed in the chair who doesn't try to prioritize the economic well-being as a whole, the likelihood of getting out of stagflation quickly is very, very limited. Beyond that, there's been some suggestion of Trump attempting to remove Fed Chair Jerome Powell, a legally questionable move. We talk about how markets hate uncertainty. The word uncertainty will take on a whole new meaning if Trump attempts to remove Powell. There's no telling how badly the market will react. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.